Okay, here we are back again with more Mass Effect 2. And I think in this episode we might just go ahead and go through some Codex.
Commander, you received a new message at your private terminal.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, anyway, I'd like to just go through some Codex. We'll do a quick Codex episode here, and then we'll go back to, I don't know, trolling the galaxy, saving people, shooting things, whatever, the usual. So I think there's a couple of primary, that we still haven't.
Humans detected Aiea as an Earth-type world via telemetry in 2165. After probe surveys indicated life, lush vegetation, ample fresh water, and breathable air, the Alliance upgraded the planet to a garden world colonization priority. Commanded by Captain Ronald Taylor, the crew of Alliance survey vessel Hugo Gernsback made planetfall on the jungle world in 2173. Soon after, ship transmissions inexplicably stopped. While the precise fate of the Hugo Gernsback command and crew is unknown, they are presumed killed in action and their vessel destroyed.
I don't know if we'd heard that one before, but whatever. We've got a few more here, let's
Freedom's
see.
Progress.
Tuchanka.
The Krogan homeworld boasts extreme temperatures, virulent diseases, and vicious predatory fauna. Around 1900 BCE, the Krogan discovered atomic power and promptly instigated many intraplanetary wars, sending Tuchanka into a nuclear winter. With most of their industrial base destroyed, the Krogan entered a new dark age, and warring tribal bands dominated. Populations remained low for the next 2,000 years. First contact with the Solarians made resurgence possible. Krogan brought to less hostile planets bred exponentially and returned to reconquer their home. They built vast underground shelters to shield themselves from surface radiation, which proved prescient during the Krogan rebellions, when many of them isolated themselves in a vain attempt to avoid the genophage. Convinced they could outbreed the genophage, they transmitted it into more than 90% of the sealed bunkers. Today, Tuchanka's population is sharply limited, and while individual Krogan are long-lived, the genophage ensures few replacements.
Pretty depressing, to be quite honest. I feel kind of bad for the Krogan, despite their rather shady history. They didn't ask to be uplifted, and they certainly didn't ask for the genophage, so...
Asari-made Solaris armor can resist even the tremendous heat and kinetic energy of starship weapons. The armor is nearly unsurpassed in strength because its central material, carbon nanotube sheets woven with diamond chemical vapor deposition, are crushed by mass effect fields into super-dense layers able to withstand extreme temperatures. That process also compensates for diamond's brittleness. Diamond armor itself has two limiting disadvantages. First, while nanotubes and CVD diamond construction has become cheaper in recent years, it remains prohibitively expensive to coat starships or aircraft larger than fighters in Solaris material. Second, the armor must be attached to the ship's superstructure, so shock waves from massive firepower can still destroy the metals beneath the armor itself. A popular misconception holds that the diamond composition of Solaris armor gives it its sparkle. In fact, atmospheric nitrogen impurities during the superhot forging process give the armor its metallic gray or yellow sheen.
So that's one of the upgrades that we can give to the Normandy, as it says Normandy armor upgrade. I think that's it for the primary ones, and there's just a few secondary ones that we still haven't gotten our way through yet. Again, these are DLCs that we'll probably deal with closer to the time when we're actually going to do those DLCs, but we do have some others here that we can deal with. Yes, here's our entry on the Migrant Fleet, which of course is Tally's people. The flotilla, or the Migrant Fleet, is a fleet of roughly 50,000 starships that houses over 17 million Quarians. The largest collection of starfaring vessels in the galaxy, the fleet is so large it may take days for all the ships to pass through a mass relay. The ships are constantly repaired, replaced, and upgraded to comfortably house as many Quarians as possible. Typically, ships specialize in roles for the fleet, from the enormous agricultural live ships to the shielded lab ships to the repurposed freighters known as home ships that house Quarian children, young parents, and educators. Employed Quarians typically live in the ship they work on, since commuting from ship to ship ties up resources with unnecessary docking procedures. Even within the flotilla, Quarians on most ships will remain encased in their protective suits. Rarely, Quarians will meet on clean ships for specific purposes such as medical services or reproduction. When this occurs, they remove their suits, knowing full well that it is likely they will spend a few days having allergic reactions or getting over infections as their weakened immune systems compensate for each other's presence. So yeah, that's more on the Quarians again. Tali's people, which if you've seen the first Mass Effect Let's Play that I did, they're pretty interesting, and they have a really great backstory. And we'll delve into a lot more of that. As we get to Tali's loyalty mission. Sorry, my phone just is like trying to update itself, and it's weird. Right. Okay. So, technology stuff, right. Argus planet scan technology. I think this was the scanner upgrade for the Normandy that I probably purchased at some point, because I kind of blindly purchase all upgrades that are available. The Argus provides a qualitative leap in planetary surface imaging, a proprietary technology of the Eindroid Group, an RRD laboratory reportedly owned by Cerberus. This upgrade for Normandy's sensory array delivers superior long-range topographical scanning resolution and rendering speed. By deploying an orbital multi-static grid of 100 radar-emitting microsatellites, the Argus quickly delivers a global digital elevation model, or DEM, at 15 meters per pixel, or MPP, resolution, vastly outclassing the Normandy's previous scanner peak performance of 27 MPP. Such imaging quality provides superior defensive intelligence, and at a speed warranted by the dangers of combat. At slower scanning and rendering speed, the Argus can resolve down to an astonishing 0.001 MPP, 1 millimeter per pixel, ideal for geological and biological prospecting, archaeological research, and long-term security surveillance. By employing such a massive multi-static grid of nearly untraceable micro-emitters, the resilient Argus is virtually invulnerable to electronic countermeasures. The spherical geometry of the Argus grid also allows superior cross-sectioning of targets. That sounds like a lot of technobabble mumbo-jumbo to me, but okay. So here's some stuff related to Kasumi's loyalty mission, which we did. So here's some interesting stuff on gray boxes, which is the thing that we actually retrieved for her. A mnemonic neural recall stimulator, also known as a gray box, is a device implanted in the brain to assist and prioritize memory. Originally developed to slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease, gray boxes function by helping the amygdala chunk incoming stimuli into recognizable pieces for memory consolidation. Each memory is assigned a shape or sensation from other memories, tying the concepts together into a block that is more easily recalled. When Synthetic Insights first released them onto the market in 2140, gray boxes were hailed as a way humans could level the playing field between themselves and the Solarians, whose natural eidetic memories gave them an advantage. However, because the implant procedure of gray box requires the brain to irreversibly shift its workload over to the machine, software bugs or attempted removal of the gray box for maintenance purposes could lead to incapacitating brain damage. For this reason, gray boxes soon became used only by those with a dire need for photographic memories, such as researchers and spies. In 2175, sale and implantation of gray boxes were outlawed by the Systems Alliance following an incident with Abraham Rumoy, an employee of the Alliance Intelligence Agency. Rumoy was believed to be a professional conman and thief named Keiji Okuda, who accessed and sold classified data. However, prosecuting attorneys were unable to use his assisted memories as evidence due to the Alliance court system's prohibitions against self-incrimination, based on the Fifth Amendment of the old U.S. Constitution. Rumoy soon disappeared off the map following his trial, further heightening suspicions that he was Okuda and living off of ill-gotten gains. When found outside a human head, gray boxes are usually accessed with a specialized reader. A separate decryption key is almost always required, as users with data sensitive enough to require a gray box invariably install their own encryption. The Casa Fabrications Locust. This is the gun that we picked up in the vault. The gun that killed 2 presidents is the infamous legacy of the Casa Fabrications Model 12 Locust. Originally created for the Systems Alliance, who wanted a lightweight weapon for high-gravity worlds, the Locust was designed to overcome the limitations of traditional submachine guns at long range. With bullet velocity of modern weapons already pushed to the limit, the Locust's designers sought a way to improve accuracy through reducing weapon kick. They created an internal floating bed that absorbs the gun's recoil with minimal jarring of the gun frame itself. The barrel, magazine, chamber, and operating mechanism all move within this bed, which absorbs shock with springs and buffers. This creates a platform stable enough that the Locust can use auto-targeting software usually reserved for match-grade weapons. The Locust's lethality on shielded targets has been amply demonstrated. In 2176, a Virginian patent clerk named Michael Moser Lang brought a Locust concealed in a shoulder-mounted video camera to a photo opportunity between Enrique Aguilar, President of the United North American States, and Chinese People's Federation Premier Ying Zhang. At a distance of about 25 meters, Lang pierced the kinetic barriers covering the stage with the first burst, and when Zhang heroically tackled Aguilar to remove him from the line of fire, Lang's succeeding bursts went through the premier's body and fatally wounded both men. Donovan Hawk's collection contains 2 antique ivory-handled Locusts, modified to take thermal clips. A detachable data drive rests in the lining of the box, containing OmniTool specifications for fabricating copies. A quick trip to the extranet reveals one of the weapons has the same serial number as Lang's original. If it's a fake, it's extremely well made. Crazy. I love just the little fake historical anecdotes that they kind of toss in here to sort of cover the distance between our current present day and the present day of the games. Just like filling in all these gaps with like wars and how diplomatic relations on Earth went and things like that. It's just it seems really it's just really cool to me how they really did a lot to fill in the gaps, kind of in the way that Star Trek does, you know, which I've always really liked that aspect of Star Trek as well. So this is the entry on Bekenstein, which is the planet that we did the heist on. More glittering than diamonds, more expensive than surgery is how travel agents describe this planet behind closed doors. Given the opportunity to colonize planets after the First Contact War, the Systems Alliance chose Bekenstein to be their trading arm, producing goods to be sold on the nearby Citadel. Cracking the vast galactic marketplace proved difficult, the first human product sold on novelty alone, then lack of demand hit Bekenstein's economy hard. Only in the second generation of colonists did the planet find a sustainable niche in high-quality entertainment and luxury goods. Once brand awareness sunk in, aliens flocked to Bekenstein's many spaceports. The planet today boasts more millionaires and billionaires per capita than any other human colony. Though its crime tends to be white-collar and non-violent, Bekenstein is not without its dark side. Both its suicide rate and inflation are extremely high compared to other worlds. Unemployment is artificially low because few people immigrate to the expensive planet without having a job lined up, and the cost of living is so great that unemployed workers typically leave for kinder planets after just a few months. Those who stay see themselves as tougher, sharper, and more skillful than the rest, as well as capable of getting respect and employment on any lesser planet. As a popular song says, if you can make it on the beck, you got him by the neck. We're going to skip Zaid's too, because we'll do that closer to the time when we do his DLC. Let's see here. I think we did body armor last time. So we're moving on to kinetic barriers. Kinetic barriers, commonly called shields, provide protection against most mass accelerator weapons. Whether on a starship or a soldier's suit of armor, the basic principle remains the same. Kinetic barriers are repulsive mass effect fields projected from tiny emitters. These shields safely deflect small objects traveling at rapid velocities. This affords protection from bullets and other dangerous projectiles, but still allows the user to sit down without knocking away their chair. The shielding afforded by kinetic barriers does not protect against extremes of temperature, toxins, or radiation. And mass accelerators. A mass accelerator propels a solid metal slug using precisely controlled electromagnetic attraction and repulsion. The slug is designed to squash or shatter on impact, increasing the energy it transfers to the target. If this were not the case, it would simply punch a hole right through, doing minimal damage. Accelerator design was revolutionized by Element Zero. A slug lightened by a mass effect field can be accelerated to greater speeds, permitting projectile velocities that were previously unattainable. If accelerated to a high enough velocity, a simple paint chip can impact with the same destructive force as a nuclear weapon. However, mass accelerators produce recoil equal to their impact energy. This is mitigated somewhat by the mass effect fields that rounds are suspended within, but weapon recoil is still the prime limiting factor on slug velocity. And small arms. Modern infantry weapons are micro-scaled mass accelerators, using mass-reducing fields and magnetic force to propel miniature slugs to lethal speeds. Nearly every gun on the battlefield is laden with features, from targeting auto-assists to projectile shavers that can generate thousands of rounds of ammunition from a small internal block of metal. It was long thought that personal weapons had plateaued in performance, but the Geth proved all theories wrong. Mathematically reviewing their combat logs, the Geth found that in an age of kinetic barriers, most firefights were won by the side who could put the most rounds downrange the fastest, but combatants were forced to deliberately shoot slower to manage waste heat or pause as their weapons vented. To eliminate this inefficiency, the Geth adopted detachable heat sinks known as thermal clips. While organic arms manufacturers were initially doubtful this would produce a net gain, a well-trained soldier can eject and swap thermal clips in under a second. Faced with superior enemy firepower, organic armies soon followed the Geth's lead, and today's battlefields are littered with these thermal clips. So, there's our in-universe explanation for the switch from not having ammo at all to suddenly having ammo in Mass Effect 2. It's these thermal clips. They're heat sinks, basically, as opposed to actual, ammo cartridges. You're not actually putting ammo in your gun, theoretically, when you're reloading. It's you're popping your thermal clip and putting in a new one to help control the heat produced by your gun as you're firing. Because bullets are obsolete in the 22nd century, because every gun is equipped with basically a chunk of metal that shaves a projectile, that projectiles get shaved off of, basically. So that's the in-universe explanation for the switch in game mechanics, which I think is really interesting. That they bothered to try and explain that at all, to be quite honest, because, I think it sort of speaks to, the care that writers and game developers can take in terms of, trying to make the game mechanics make sense within the context of the world that they're building and the world that they're creating. It's like, obviously this was kind of a retrofit in the sense that I assume that the change in game mechanics came first, and then they had to come up with an explanation for the change in universe later. But, you know, it makes a certain amount of sense, and it's something that, like, it sounds plausible to me, so, you know, sure, why not? So I think it's kind of interesting that they are, you know, that they took the care to do that, do things like that, to make it more plausible, to make it work better. Do I have, I don't really want any of these. So, yeah, that might be a little bit of a short episode, but I think that's a good place to stop this episode. And next time we'll probably just, I don't know if I want to do Garrus's loyalty mission yet, though that is next on the list, I believe. If I check the journal here. Because I don't want to do tallies just yet. I suppose I could do Samara's first, but really it's like Garrus and Samara are kind of next on the list for loyalty missions. And then I usually do Tally, Jack, and Zaid are sort of the last ones on my list to do for loyalty missions, just because, mostly for reputation purposes, because I want to get as much Paragon going before I do those as I possibly can, for reasons that will become obvious as we get into them. So Samara and Garrus are definitely the next loyalty missions on the list, but I'm not sure if I want to go right into Garrus's. I know we're on the Citadel because we've done Thanes. We just did Thanes, so we're basically still at the Citadel right now. But I might spend another episode or so doing side missions, running around the galaxy before we jump into Garrus's loyalty mission. We'll see. We'll see how I feel about it next time I record, whatever. So yeah. As always, if you like what you see, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode. Later!